All right, let's roll it in then, hey?
Yeah, cool.
Mark Kluwer, welcome to Roll with the Punches.
Thanks, Tiff.
Hey, I'm very excited to have you here.
You're excited, mate. You're excited. I'm bloody excited to be here, mate. With a ledge.
I just want to tell my listeners first, before we start, we had a big conversation on this before I've introduced you, but that beard of yours is something else. I reckon you need to have a logo created that relates to that beard. Can you tell my listeners what your beard looks like?
Looks bloody beautiful.
Oh, doesn't it?
I don't know. I don't know. It's like you commented, and I mean I don't look at it much, but there is a black stripe through here under my nose to about the underside of my bottom lip, and then the rest is like it's been dipped.
Yeah, like so. What I feel like
in milk or something.
If we gave it a number 4 or something all over, I feel like the whole thing would just be solid, solid black or quite dark. And then it just gets to that like couple of centimeters, and then it just goes like Santa Claus white.
Yeah, it is, mate.
It is brilliant.
Thank you, mate.
Anyway, I guess we didn't come on to talk about that, but I just can't get past it.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Tell me and the listeners where you are situated right now.
Where I am, I'm sitting in my shed in elevated. Well, the place our property is Elevated Springs, which is about 4 kilometres out of Hepburn Springs.
Beautiful.
Okay, heading towards Castlemaine on the Hepburn Newstead Road. We're near. If anyone knows Dalesford or Hepburn Springs, but a lot of people have been to the which is just north down the road, which is the Lavandula Farm. I don't know. Have you heard of that, Tiff?
I haven't actually. I haven't. But for anyone who's not from Victoria or Australia, we're talking about a place in Victoria, Australia, out in a very beautiful part of the country.
Thank you, mate. Yes. So that's where I am, mate. I'm sitting here in front of the computer having a chat with you, mate, and it's bloody hot, mate. I know it's hot in Melbourne, but she's hot. We don't have air conditioning. I've just got a ceiling fan there, which is not going fast enough. I may have to turn it up during this podcast, but we'll see. But nature. We are nature. We have to deal with nature. We live in nature. We're not apart from nature. We are nature. So we just need to carry on, mate.
Yeah. It's pretty clear that nature plays a massive part in your life now.
Yes, mate. Yeah.
Has it always? Or like, have you always been a bit of a country boy, or did you move?
See, I tell you what happened.
Tell me the story.
Tell you what happened. Look, I had a building company up until 2017. I left that company to follow my passion. My brother still runs the building company. I'm a plumber by trade. But I remember in 2004, 2005, we did our first country. We did a big building up in North Victoria, a bit further north, near Shepparton area. And we were there for nearly 2 years, big house. And I hated the country. I just felt there was something there. And it was probably the town. I'm not going to mention the town, but it was probably the town I was in. Didn't have a community feel, but it was kind of like a bit. It could have been better. I feel, when I look at it, but I wasn't. I thought there's no way known. I'm a city person. I love to be around people, which I do. I love it. I love the connection. That's my true passion. But see, what I found is that the country wasn't doing it for me, mate, and I couldn't wait to get back on the Friday or whatever, and come back to Melbourne and be a part of that city thing again,
Yeah.
But I suppose that was just a stage of my life. So I thought, I'm never going to live in the country. I wasn't, but it all started to change, mate, in, 2016. I felt, and a friend said to me, we'd go out at a new group of friends, at a wellness facility where I met Fifth Element Wellness, where I met Joshy.
Yep, Joshy Coleman. Joshy was on a prior episode with us. My listeners will remember him.
And which we can talk about that in a minute. But anyway, that community, they had some nature days. And I remember going into nature, and we'd go, for a walk. And I remember there was a feeling, and even my friend said, Mark, I seemed to quieten down a bit when I was coming from the city, and something was happening. And when they also explained, oxytocin and all these benefits you get, the feel-good hormones you get from being in country, I actually become, is the word palpable?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what happened, mate. And I realised, and I started to observe how I did feel inside, because I like to fucking do things and I like to, move. But when I'm in nature, I like the silence, mate. So it changed. So, if I look at 2005 to now, couldn't see that happening, mate. There's no way.
Interesting?
It is,
Isn't
mate.
that interesting?
So we can never say never.
It's really funny. I'll just tell you, when I studied epigenetics this year, and I speak to and meet people and see people now, I always have that lens on, and there's part of my brain is always watching, listening, observing that physical and behavioural traits that you have. And I feel myself always trying to pinpoint what I think that you might be. And so I was been looking at you and thinking that I reckon you might be a connector. And it's funny because a connector is very oxytocin driven. So people, which would be a reason why that city life and being around people was at once important to you. But then when you made that connection of the oxytocin from the environment you're in now, it's really interesting. So it could be wrong, but
Yeah. And also, Tiff, the community up here is magnificent, mate. Like up around this area, Dalesford, Hepburn, they're great people. We've run some community events up here. We've been, fully booked, and there's a great vibe. There's a great community here. There's great young blokes. There's great women. They're everyone. It's just, yeah. So, and I feel so grateful that they accept. Like even going to a shop, mate, people are happy. You go to the service station, and what I love, I'd love to have a chat, right? And so I'll go into the hardware. I say to my wife, I'll go up to the hardware. I'll be back in half an hour. Now, can you still see me okay? Because you there?
Yep.
Sorry, they're unstable because we're off grid here, right? Totally off grid. So
that's right. Anyway. It jumped out for a bit, but your audio was fine.
Okay. So what happens, mate, right, is I go up there and I'm supposed to be half an hour and I come back in 2 hours' time. Because what happens, I go up there and people have got time. You get in the hardware, you see people and you have a chat, mate. How present is this? Yeah. How beautiful is this? Job takes a bit longer. And I know, as I said, we're fortunate that, we can do that, of course. But sometimes things take longer than they should. And then I come back and I start pushing it, get it done because I was stuffed around talking. But I love the chat, mate. So, yeah.
Definitely. It reminds me of when I go back to Tassie because similar kind of thing. I'll head out and I'll put the headphones on and I'll be listening to podcasts of things that interest me, because I'm always doing in Melbourne, I'm always doing a lot. And I'm in the city and I'm near the beach, but in general, I'm in that busy environment. And I'll go back to Tassie for Christmas and I'll pop the headphones on. And then I remember real quickly that you can have headphones on and be in a daydream and not making eye contact, and country people will still say hello. So I had to get used to the fact that one ear had to be out of the noise cancelling headphones and be ready to interact with people. And it's so beautiful. And then awkwardly you come back to Melbourne, you say hi to people, they look at you like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You got out of your asylum.
That's right, mate. And that's what I love doing. I still have if I can, always connect, because connection's so powerful. As I said, connection's so powerful. The most important thing. It's been proven that the most important thing, we've got all these things we need to do in modalities, but it's the human connection and community is the most important for our health. Internal well-being, that's the number one priority, mate.
I love it. Now, you mentioned to me before you took a risk. You left your work and your tradie work and your building and everything in Melbourne, and you came up there and you took a risk by kind of chasing this passion and creating something special. So I want to talk about what you've created there, what you do, and all of the modalities that you've pulled in from your toolkit and included in this, because Joshy Coleman spoke of it so highly, and I've no doubt that it became a very healing part of his journey.
Oh, thank you. Well, look, it all stemmed back 2016. I had an opportunity at the last minute to go to Wim Hof retreat. which was run down in Melbourne, down the west coast, down in Aireys Inlet. And it was just at last minute. It was 2 days before the event. They had a space had become available. And it's interesting with life. There's always going to be a door opening in life. And the thing is, what we need to do is just put the toe in the door and push it open, have just a quick look. But sometimes we need to go through that door and not say, oh, I don't know what's going to happen there. You know, this was a time for me. 2016, I had the opportunity to go to Wim Hof retreat. Last minute, I get the call. Earlier, about a month before, a good mate of mine suffers from mental illness. I love him. He's like a brother. You know, he's worked for me for years and years. He said, Mark, you've got to see this. There's this crazy Dutchman. You know, see what he's doing. He's bloody unbelievable. And my old man's Dutch, so I've got this Dutch connection. I thought he's like one of my uncles. So I had a look, and it was Wim. And it's interesting, Tiff. I was drawn to the extreme side of that, the extreme side, okay? Because I've done Murray Marathon, single 500K kayak events, and I've run long distance, all this training, you know, like yourself, just, you know, that's another story. But anyway, I was drawn to that. But the thing is, mate, I thought that's what I needed, but that wasn't what I needed. What I needed was the other side.
Ah, yeah.
Softer side, mate. Softer side, you know? And so that 2016, that I had the opportunity to go. I was uncomfortable. I had, you know, I had friends. I went with a group, you know, Jim from Fifth Element Wellness. There was 4 of us plus myself, and we went down there. And I remember one of the young fellas said before I jumped in the car, he said to me, something's going to happen, Mark. I thought, fuck, I know there's something going to happen. There was something here, and I was nervous. And anyway, so we go there, and, you know, the first morning, we were breathing, and I just opened up, and there were 62 people there. And that's when that's when I first actually saw Josh, who I love like a brother. Yep. His family are fucking legends, mate. Honestly, you want to talk about beautiful people, mate. Just, yeah. He gets... You know, he's done everything to try to get to this place, and he gets taken out on an ambulance. Doesn't even get a chance to do anything. And so that morning, I hadn't spoken to Josh, you know, and you know, I'll get, yeah. That morning, we all lay down together and we start breathing. I was dabbling with a bit of meditation. I thought it was a bit, you know, because no one could explain what meditation was about, Tiff, see? No one could explain what it was about, mate. But it's about just being present. And so we were just breathing. And I had this something went through me, mate. It just went right through my body. And this emotion was building. Because, see, I thought you know, and especially as men, because it's like what we're dealt, you know, what does masculinity look like? I'm 55, right? You show your emotions in front of someone, you're a weak bastard. You're soft. What are you, Mark? You're fucking soft, right? And then, my old man was great. But, you know, I've been around and parents think they're doing the right thing, and the father will say to his son, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about, right? That's where it stems from, mate. Yep. But this emotion came through, and, you know, and I, for 5 days, mate, I was just bloody, I was venting everything, you know, like all this stuff I thought I dealt with, it hadn't. Of course we don't. We just push it down to the deepest, darkest corner, and it just came out, mate, and it fucking went out. And there were days when I remember there was a beautiful Dutch woman there from Tasmania, Grada. Her name's Grada Robinson. They live in Forth, I think. Yeah. Oh. And she was behind me, and I just slumped, and it was just I was poleaxed, mate. It's like a shirt front, you know, like, but I felt so, I was buggered, but I felt so peaceful. You know, I just felt just at peace, mate.
Yeah.
You know, and as I said, what happens, you know, especially for my, you know, connection, as I had a building company for 30 years with my brother, you know, and this, how we've been betrayed on what's masculine. Like I said earlier, you know, I played footy out of suburbs. We were played footy in the outer suburbs. You know, we had a few blues here and there. You know, you're a tough man. Fed acorns to the Catholic school, mate. We'd make them look like lollies, and we thought that was fucking funny. You know, go past and fucking bang as we walk. What? I didn't even know why we're doing that, mate. All this kind of stuff, this kind of tough, you know, and then play footy in the northern suburbs, and then I played at Collingwood for a few years in the under-19s, and it was bravado stuff. And then I had the opportunity. I get an apprenticeship. The footy club got me an apprenticeship. I started at Rialto, 1984, and I remember walking in. I was, you know, the only apprentice for that on that site with the plumbing company, and there was 80 plumbers. I walk in, and the first thing they say to me, these fellas, they say, we're gonna initiate you, Mark. You better watch out. What a fucking load of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is fucking male. These are male role models, mate. Right? And I remember saying, well, do whatever you got to do, mate, because I'll fucking tell you, I won't be standing for it. I don't give a fuck what happens, you know? Right? But this is what I'm saying. So, and the reason they're doing it to the younger ones, right, is because they've had it done. So they think that's a rite of passage. That's not a true rite of passage, mate. That is not a healthy way for a rite of passage for a young man or young, you know, I was 18 going into manhood. And I've studied rites of passage with Anna Rubinstein up at Rites of Passage Institute up in Byron Bay, and that's one thing that I really love, and I'm working on that here. It's a facilitated rites of passage that's safe, that allows the people, men and women, boys and girls, to go through to womanhood and manhood.
Wow.
Okay. Right. And this boy psychology, I know I'm going to go back to that 2016, but that boy psychology and, you know, on being fucking tough, this is not right, mate. This is not the true psychology. And so here I am. So I've created this picture. How you got to be. You train hard, you work hard, you train hard. I was never into drinking. That was fast cars. I had one of these Celica's, you know, it's a bit like George Costanza, apparently. I wouldn't let everyone, whenever I drove with it, I'd have to bloody wash it. Like Julie, I was going out with it then all the way back when I was 18. No one could get in the car unless they had their shoes off, mate. Like, you know, it was. Anyway, so here I am. I've got this, what's fucking tough. And then 2016, mate, right? I've held all this back. And then I'm laying on this floor with 62 people. And the first day, within 30 minutes, I'm blubbering, mate. And you know what the beautiful thing was here, Tiff? What was fucking beautiful is people weren't turned off by it. They came, and after the breathing session, they put their arms around you, because this is what community is, mate. And being authentic. And I know where, you know, there's vulnerability, and all these things are being used now, you know, but it's the truth is, if you be the truth and if you be yourself, you are accepted. You don't need to be anyone else but who you want to be or who you are. And that's one thing for me. And that's what happened. No one thought this, here, Mark's fucking crying again. And there was a few jokes, but that's great. You know, here he goes, he's fucking crying again, you know? And so, but it was so peaceful and it was beautiful. And I remember with clarity, on the 2 days before we were leaving, it was lunch break. And I said to a mate of mine, I said, Geordie, I'm going to open a retreat space. 2016. I'm going to open a retreat space. because I want to give people the opportunity to experience the clarity that I had, is what nature and what connection gives to you, and it's in the soul. It goes deep, mate. And it was clear, and I'm not going to say sorry, I'm getting emotional, because we do that too much in life. And that's what happened, mate. And it was clear that I wanted to provide a space in nature where people could connect with one another. And that's our teacher.
I just want to say that you've barely even spoken about the actual retreat, but what I want to comment on is your ability to connect and evoke emotion is next level. So throughout however long you just spoke, I've had goosebumps, I've had tears come to my eyes, I've been excited, I've been drawn in, I've wanted to be a part of it. You have got something extremely powerful about you. Like, I want to come to your retreat a lot.
Thank you. Well, you're more than welcome, Tiff.
And what I love is that whole experience is wrapped up in this awesome looking, bearded, hat wearing, bloke. And I love that. I love it.
Thank you, mate.
So how's the journey been from the concept?
Yeah. So what happened? So we were living comfortably, in Alphington, near Northcote in Melbourne. Julie and I built a house when the kids were young. My eldest daughter Lauren, she's 27, she was 3, and Mahalia was 1, or actually probably wasn't even born. Oh no, she was. Yeah. So anyway, we built this house, and then a couple of times I thought we'll put it on the market, but there was a true fear that what if I make the wrong decision? I can't get back into Melbourne. I can't get back to that spot. The old what if.
Yeah.
And so I remember what happened. I decided we have to do this, because we can't finance it. We have to, And so we sold the house. And then we were renting in Alphington, and then Mahalia, my daughter's boyfriend, who used to live up around this area in Drummond, and he said, Mark, the way you're going to find a property here is a farm. You buy it off an old farm family. They'll be selling something. You won't see it. You have to go through an agent. Guess what happens 2 weeks later? That's presented itself.
Wow.
We found this property. We had an opportunity to come up. I went straight away up with Julie, and I came up to have a look. Now, we were living on 300 square metres in Alphington, just a small single-fronted block. We're on 70 acres here, mate. So we weren't looking for this size, but it just the way it happened. Rugged bushland, And what the hard thing was is when it came up is when we're going through that transition of before handover, or what they call settlement. Mm. And so Julie was very mate, I've turned everything upside down, right? And so she was very she had a look at the place. She thought, Mark, it's too rugged here. Like, there was nothing here,
Yeah.
And I said, Julie, I feel like this is what we have to do, mate. And I just said, we have to do this. And so we ended up, we bought the land. She wasn't happy. She hated me that day that we signed the contract. She said it. And that's a part of the story, And also what happened, so for a year after we bought it, I'd come up, we're still living in Melbourne, I'd come up and sit and just walk around and sit up, and she had anxiety about the whole thing because, mate, our house that kids grew up, it's all this big change. There's instability. There's not, this. She said, Mark, where are your plans? I said, for this time, I was into the heart, mate, out of the head and into the heart space, And so, and then we moved up here, rented firstly, and then while I was building the place, and then, it's just been this kind of thing where it's just more intuitive. You got to go with the intuition too, mate.
Yeah.
Life, we've got to give things a crack. And like I said earlier, the life has these doors that open. And if you don't put your foot in and have a look, you know, I just didn't want to be, I was 50 and I was concerned about being, you know, like a person that was defined by his occupation. Mark, the plumber, the builder. I want purpose, mate. And I want people, and that's the thing, we've got to be excited about life. I remember Sundays, you know, it'd be Sunday afternoon, I think, fuck, I've got to go to bloody start working tomorrow, you know. And I ran my own company, great people working, you know, but there was this thing I was losing, this disconnection. You don't want to be feeling like that, mate. If you feel that, you know, and you've got to do the hard things, Tiff. It's not about, there's times, you know, you do your apprenticeship and you train and you learn. Sorry, Tiff.
You're here.
Sorry, mate. Someone's rang. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. You're still here.
Yeah. And so basically, Tiff, what was this? So
you got to do your apprenticeship.
The occupation. And so you've got to be excited about life. Yeah. You've got to be really excited, I reckon. And it mightn't happen straight away, but you don't want to be, I didn't want to be sitting there thinking, fuck, if I had her. If I had her. You know, like there's an old saying, and probably not going to make sense. If the little dog didn't stop to have a piss, he would have won the cup. Don't know. I heard that years ago. Now, it probably doesn't make sense, but I understand it, right? Right? And this is the whole thing. So I thought I have to do this. And it's been hard up here, you know, like there's times, especially with COVID, we were lucky. The Melbourne people were stoic, tough, like what they did. We had all this land, but we were working here and there was no energy giving back. You know what I mean? Because we're putting it out here to do stuff and no one was able to come up. And I love being connected with people, you know, so that was difficult, but Tiff.
Can I get you to?
Yep, there was a moment a month ago.
Can I get you to rewind and say that part again about the people, because it just got real slow.
Okay. So basically what I said is that good call. What did I say? The people.
So you got all this space, but the people.
Yeah, I had all this space. I wanted to bring the people here because then we get this love and this connection, and you get that gives you energy tickets kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you're putting it out there, and you want the energy back.
Yes,
that's natural. That's normal, mate. That's how we work, you know. And that wasn't happening, so that was really difficult, you know, at that time. And then about a month ago, you know, I was looking at life, you know, and thinking, am I doing the right thing? Still, you keep getting these things. And then what I did from 2016, when I decided to go outside my comfort zone, that little door open, I had the opportunity to go down that place, cry for 5 days, meet these beautiful people. They're all Mark Mullen, Lars, as I said, and I've got to touch on my observation of Joshy, obviously, of course, but all these people that I met since then, and I look at the property. My next door neighbour is a good mate of mine. All these kind of things, how everything comes about, and the people you meet, you're in flow. And I have to sit back and understand that I'm on the right. I feel I'm on the right path because this is happening. This is happening because if you're doing something that there's a dream you want to do, doesn't mean it's going to be always easy, mate. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, Tiff.
Yeah.
But you fucking step through, mate. And so,
I love this.
You know, and so that's what the you know, and then Mark's been up. He stayed a few days up here. It was great. But all these people I meet, you know, and life changed in 2016. Now, what's that worth, mate? There's no monetary value on that, you know, and it's not about driving the fucking Porsche, Tiff. It's when you're you know, what's happiness? Because the human, what we want to do, and even like when I'm building now, I think, you know, I've got to build this, I've got to do this, this, and this. You've got to stop back and look because, you know, you get the first Porsche and you think, fuck, it's not going, it's doing 150 in first gear. It's not good enough. You know, so you go to the next thing. But is it bringing happiness? I don't think it is, Tiff. Everyone's different. I'm not saying, and it's not coming from judgment. True success is happiness, mate, and how you feel. That's, you know, and that's where it comes from, mate.
definitely resonate, and I had a similar-ish type of experience over this time of the pandemic, where my 2 gyms and my ability to make an income completely stopped. And then I started this podcast just because I wanted to improve speaking skills and communication, and I wanted to network, and I love telling stories, and I love a bit of marketing. So all these things came together, and then it became a beast that just rolled on. And
Beautiful.
now people are throwing opportunities for income and work and things, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it as tough as I have to do it, without letting go of this. I'll never let go of this. I don't care if it makes me sink to a point, because it's the thing. It's the thing that matters. I've never been happier. Life's never been harder at points of time throughout the last 12 months. Life's never been harder or scarier or held more risk for me ever. But on the same side, or the other side of the coin, it's also, I've never been happier.
Yeah, cool.
So I totally resonate with the change and the risks that you've taken.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like yeah. It'll be interesting, mate. Like in 20 years, and you can't, and that's what you can't look at, obviously. But it'd be just interesting if you had a fast forward to look back, but you can't. I mean, otherwise you're not present, mate. So, and that gives us anxiety. Look in the future, we need to be here now, mate. So. Yeah.
How often are you running retreats? What does it look like for people? Is it something that you run specific events with groups, numbered groups, and have a plan around, or do people come up, sort of by themselves? How does it work?
Well, look, Tiff, at the moment I've had some people by themselves. I mean, which is great. We have a one-on-one, or what I do is group's always great, because the energy.
Yes.
The energy is huge, which I really love again, So originally, like, the vision was, and this is what's got to happen too with the vision, and this is Joshy again, see? His wisdom. Young Josh, the fucking wisdom, mate. You can portray, or you can dream, or you can see what you want, but it might change on the way, and it doesn't mean it's not, and that's what happens, like with you, Tiff. Things change, and so originally it was just weekend stuff. But then I've realised we had COVID, we had 2 events, Don't Think Feel and a Don't Think Do event, and that was just, I think it was just after July we had it, and then they cancelled it. They couldn't come up, because there were a lot of Melbourne people, and so, and then they were day events, okay. And then what we ended up doing is people that want to keep their ticket. Can you hear me okay? I know it's come up, internet connections unstable, yeah. And so basically what we did, we put it forward, and then we did it in December. We had the 2 events in December.
Nice.
Does that make sense? So the ones that we had in July, we ended up doing them in December. It was great. We had 18 people each day, 16 to 18 people each day, and then what it worked out, I think the day at the moment, because we're still building the place, and this is me, which is difficult in my journey, is that I've always had quite at some stages, we're doing bigger type of building projects, and I'd have you might have 20 up to 20 fellas on a site, and you're getting plenty done. Here I've got to learn this. I'm just chugging away by myself, and if I need a hand, I get someone in, but predominantly it's all being myself. And so what happens? I'm getting tested. It's this thing. Yeah, I know. Like I can't keep rushing it. And that's why I'm fucking 55. I should have been doing this 20 years ago, but I wasn't ready 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I wasn't ready 20 years ago, but all the building skills that I've learned have got me to this point. So what we do, we've been having, so it's a day events at the moment, and there'll be some weekenders this year as well, but it's more camping. We're getting raw. We've got composting. My wife's got Julie's got a vegetable garden there, and we're composting toilet, and it's just getting in touch with nature, because you know what the important thing is? You know what grounds people? Getting their hands into Mother Earth, mate. It's Mother Earth.
I love it.
Get your hands into Mother Earth, have bonfires, have a good talk, and eat good food, mate. So here we have all the modalities, mate. community, connection, food, movement, laughter. We got them all. You know what I mean? Breathe, cold. We got the lot, mate. And so they're day events at the moment. And look, and we're also, I'm looking at also, you know, people want to hire the space out and just have it. They can do what they want to do. But we live here, which is great. So if people want, you know, me to run a breathing session or ice bath, at the moment we do a movement session or a strongman session. The day looks like this: a movement strongman session in the morning, 45 minutes to an hour, a light break, something light to eat. We breathe deep, get around a circle, talk about it. Then we jump in the ice bath. Then we have some good food, mate.
Oh, I love
so
this.
It's a day. They're days. They're a day event. There are 3 hours. People can come up for 3 hours if they want and just do a small session. It all depends on their budget as well. But we're giving it. Well, I'm going to give this experience. It's a total disconnect. It's no phones. Leave it in the car. I don't even let cars on the property. What we do, we walk in, mate.
Oh,
and what's beautiful, we walk in, and then like I spoke earlier to you, and I said, "Can you hear that?" They say, "No." What? I said, "Listen to nature, mate. They've come from Melbourne or whatever. They've had the radio. This is where we're going to be. We're going to be here all day, and we're going to see the eagles flying overhead. We'll see kangaroos. We'll see wallabies, yeah, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to breathe deep, and we're going to connect, mate." So that's what the day looks like, Tiff, at the moment. So, and I've got, so a group can come in, like say for example, if you had your gym and, you wanted to have a session, you could say, "Look, Mark, I've got, it's best to have minimum 10, 16 is a good, because we can bring the cost down, obviously, but, 16, a group of 16, 20 max at the moment, just at the moment that where we're at. So, we just have a great time, mate.
I love
tell
it.
Stories, mate.
How much?
And Tiff, sorry, Tiff. This is one thing that I want to this is really important, right? Is that, when you do these things, you've had friends for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
You meet these people, and it might only even be a day, or say it was 3-day retreat or whatever. You get to know them deeply, and the connections you take away from this, mate. You know them. You can talk more deep, not this shit talk, which I like that too. But the thing is, we go for the meaningful stuff. That you've created this deep connection with someone that you've only met, 24, 48, 72 hours, whatever it is, and that's what it's about, mate. It has to be, and they can't separate us. We need to be together. This is the future, mate. It's a community.
I love it. It wasn't until I stepped into the boxing ring at 29 and spent the next couple of years developing self-awareness and learning a lot about myself on a very deep level that I realized all of the masks that I had spent my life wearing. And we don't even know it. And I remember going to Craig Harper, and we'll get you on his podcast too very soon. I mentioned to you, going to his years ago, his first in-person small group mentoring program pilot, just 10 of us to go together for a couple of hours and just connect. And it was so powerful. We all sat in a room and everyone went around to tell their story about why they wanted to be there, why they were there. And the stories, they were deep. There were tears. There were so many people in tears, and the stories were every person was so completely different to the next. But in saying that, every time someone told their story, and I'm sure everyone in the room would have felt the same, I just felt like, me too, mate. We're the same. How can we be so different but so the same? I feel what you're saying, and your life is nothing like mine. Same shit. But no, we never know, because we never open the door. And I think a lot of us don't even realize it ourselves for most of, and sometimes all of, our life. It's amazing.
Mate. Yes, there's this kind of, this as I said, I think it's what society's, is becoming, is that fear of judgment. Do you get that, mates? That's come up again.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I've got to apologise. We are off grid, totally off grid here. So, but fear of judgment, mate.
Yeah.
Judgment by who? That's, and it's like the mask thing you just said, mate. It's like, and it's funny when you take time out and then you realise, actually, I don't know if I like myself when I was doing that. And you realise that it's because it's hard work, mate. Fucking hard work, mate.
100%. And it's funny when you talked about intuition at the very start of this. I mean, I'm intrigued by, I didn't really know how to word the question or articulate it, but I think of intuition, but then I also think of periods of my life where I have or what is our self-belief carrying? What are we, so for example, before boxing and before kind of diving into that whole self-discovery and opening up and realizing some of the shit that I was carrying around and the coping mechanisms that it became my personality and my behavior to get by in this life. And then to like myself, I had built this story around it. And my story was, smart, I'm independent, I'm strong, I'm a fucking beast, I'll move to Melbourne, I'll jump in the boxing ring, I'll fight, I'm decisive, and the feedback you get from the people around you is wow, she's so strong, she's so independent, she's so confident. And it was like, on the inside, I was the opposite of all of those things. I was scared as fuck to get vulnerable and let anyone close to me because I probably didn't really like who I thought I might be. Yeah. Underneath, but I didn't realize that. So there's this intuition, there's this behaviors that we're innately doing, but if we're not having self-awareness and opening the door and getting to know ourselves, how do we build a relationship with intuition then?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree, mate. It's
a journey.
It is, mate. It's a bloody journey, mate. Yes.
And you're providing the space for everybody to start that journey.
Well, that's yes, providing it. Yes, that's it, mate. Because it's funny sometimes. Julie says, when people ask me what am I doing, like you go to you're meeting people, and it's like, well, what do I articulate what it is that I'm doing, because that's important. But because it's funny, if I speak, especially my age group, you go out and you speak and they their eyes start to glaze over, because they're not there. And that's fine. Everyone's on their own journey, mate. And we can't push on what, and I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. Yeah. I provide the space in nature, and you do this on your own. Because see, the thing is, with the ice bath, right? The most important things and this is, I touched on it earlier about the rite of passage. You want people to come up. I don't want to push them into anything. The ice bath's going to be there. This is what the program is. We're going to do this, but you've got to be able to. I'm not pushing you in there. You've got to make the decision yourself to go in there, because that's where the growth happens, mate. But like I say, you get in an ice bath. That's life. Is an ice response, and you learn to sit in there for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, usually 3 when we run the events. You sit in there and you breathe and you get through it. This is a yardstick for life, mate. Because what happens when you get out in that situation in the real world? Okay, look this is nowhere near as difficult as that ice bath. And what I love is young kids. And this makes me emotional too. Is the young kids say they've had a tough time at school. When I was up in Byron, there was a young 12-year-old young kid jumped in the ice bath. He was in there and it was beautiful. He's in there for 5 minutes, mate. I had 50 bags of ice in this pool, like, mate, and he just smiled through it. How powerful is this? And then Joshy sent me a photo of a young fella in New Zealand Joshy was helping a young kid out. He's having a bit of issues at school. Joshy's getting him in the ice bath. Do you know what that does to some people's belief in themselves?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you don't learn that in school, mate. You don't learn that in school, Tiff. And this is the thing, you know, what's going fucking on? That's where we fucking learn. It's when we go within, mate, and trust our soul and trust ourselves. Trust, believe. And that's what we do, mate. That's what we're here. That's what we're trying. You know, and I just want to create a safe space so people feel that they can be vulnerable and they're safe. And there's no judgment, mate. There's no judgment. You know, in 2016, I was breathing, and I remember I was breathing that, you know, we went pretty deep, and I remember I had a buzz on the top of the head, and I thought, fuck, I've had a stroke. I fell back. I'd never had that before. And in that 2006, that 5 days, I had this buzzing on the head, like it felt like a zzz, you know, like I've had this clearing, mate. I just, different. I came, and I remember coming home, and, you know, I got home and I was at the dining table, and I was just tears, and my wife came home and saw me, and then she rang up my brother, who was my business partner at the time at the building company, and she said, Paul, something's happened to Mark. Something's happened to Mark. Fuck, something's happened to Mark. What's going on? And he said, oh, he'll be all right. I've been on these kind of things. He'll be okay. Couple of weeks, he'll be fine. I'm right now, mate. I'm right now. See? That's what happened. I had this shift because I had people around me, the community around me that were there. As I said, it changed my life, mate. It changed my life.
It's powerful.
Yeah, it changed my life, mate. And I look out here and I sit out here and, you know, at night time and in the mornings I get up and look down the valley, and I should be meditating more. I think I said to you earlier, you know, and this is the thing. When you are, we are human, and we need to understand, yes, you know, we're saying we need to do this and that, but we are sometimes the worst, because I know I should be meditating more. I'm not going to say I'll fucking meditate, because we're not gurus. We are people. And yes, we've got to improve on ourselves as well, Tiff.
Yes.
I know, I've got to do these things more. I know, because I feel more grounded and I feel deeper when I do those things. Is that, you know, but we get caught up in it. It's still, and I think it's always work to be done, mate, with that, isn't there?
Yeah.
But don't beat yourself up about it either.
Well, I love that you said that. I love that you said
that's really important, you know?
Yeah, because I think that the people who have the most influence in helping other people change are the people that show you that they're the same. Craig, I've said this a lot on other podcasts, but Craig, he's a mentor of mine that I now work with on his show, and I've followed him for many years in his content and his coaching, and I've crewed for him for years. But when he resonated the most and when he had the most impact in me taking action and changing was when the words of him talking about his imposter syndrome and his feelings and his self-critic, and the fact that it still exists. It's just the volume changes up and down over time. It never goes away. And for me, that was permission. It was like,
good. Yes.
Oh, so this is just a bloke who's a few steps ahead of me, still feels the way I feel, and is super successful. So if he feels like that and he's achieved what he's achieved, then I can feel like this right now, and I can forge towards it. And it was so powerful, you know. And it's when we put people up on a pedestal, it's almost like we're giving ourselves an out, because it's like, oh, well, I'll follow a Buddhist monk and they meditate like this, and I'm nowhere near that, and they never make a mistake, and their mind is quiet, and I can't be like that, so I've failed.
Yep, that's it. That's it, mate.
I love it.
Button. Push the fucking reset button, mate.
Well, needless to say, I have thrived on this conversation.
Great,
I love the sound of your retreat, and it's definitely on my to-do list. Might bring the harp screw up. We might have to do something.
It'd be great, mate. We'd love to have you here, mate. It's the Instagram is well, there's mine. Mine's Mark Tiger Kluwer.
Yep.
And Elevated Springs. Elevated Springs is it's starting. It's at the initial stages, of course. That's our Instagram. But
amazing.
Can I just have we got any more time, Tiff, or you want to?
Oh no, we've got more time.
I just wanted to really, and we spoke about Joshy Coman. Yeah, there's something like that time, and I think, as I said, I think he spoke to it about you, on the podcast. But I remember, so we hadn't seen Josh, so he leaves. He'd done everything. He tried, he's tough. He's fucking fight. He's, for such a young person to be just so. I don't even think there's a word for it, mate. So he has multiple heart attacks, on the way back to the hospital, and then he gets back to Melbourne, and he's tried everything. This was like the last fucking straw, mate. And this is real, fuck. And we wanted to know what was happening. What happened to Joshy? And then because see, I was never on Instagram or Facebook then, but I wanted to keep this connection with these people I'd met. So that's why. So I ended up, and he posted something, and he was okay, and he was doing this and that, cold showers. And then what had happened? He listened to a podcast. I think when he was in hospital, he listened to a podcast in Melbourne. This is a couple of weeks after the event, and the podcast was run by Guy Lawrence. I don't know if you know Guy Lawrence.
I've heard of Guy Lawrence.
Yeah. And he ran the podcast. He was one of the participants there. And Guy interviewed Dave O'Brien, who at that time was one of the co-owners of Fifth Element. And Josh heard that they were around the corner. He realised that he's in Melbourne, because he was in Melbourne. He come for treatment. He was here for quite a while. That, gee, that's only around the corner from me. So Josh, at this particular day, it was a Tuesday, because that was my training day with Dave. I had a one-on-one session. And so he goes to the gym. He realised, this gym's close to him. He needed something, right? That door of life opens, he needed to go there. So he's sitting in the front foyer, and I walk in, and I just walk in and I just said, "G'day, mate," and kept walking. And then I went right down the back of the gym, started doing me lunge, warm up and all that kind of stuff. And then that's fucking Josh, and I ran up to him. And we just embraced, mate. And it was like, I fucking knew it was Josh, and he didn't know who I was. But he did, yeah, because we had met, and that he's changed my life, mate. As I said, and he was, that's 2016, and his journey, mate, and and a beautiful person, and how he speaks, and he's such I love him out. Like he's a brother, mate. I tell him, this is the other thing. You got to tell people you love them, mate. And blokes have got this thing. Oh, you can't say to another bloke you love them. Bullshit. Bullshit, mate. We every time off the phone, and it's not. I fucking truly, I love him, mate. And his brother and his family. I tell them, young blokes, I fucking love them. And what the value he's given. To my family, my daughters, they all have to, see Josh. And so when he was coming over for treatment, he would come up here and stay here, and then I'd drop him back to the airport on the Sunday afternoon. It was beautiful. We were doing this every 6 weeks, before COVID, of course. But I remember the day he came to our place. There was Mark Mullen. I think you mentioned this on your podcast, but there was Mark Mullen, myself, Dave, and he's going to have an ice bath for the first time, mate. Oh. And he was really like, mate, and this is the thing about courage, right? We had 12 bags of ice, and it was cold. It was bloody cold. It was, it was under 1 degree, and he jumps in, and he jumps in the ice bath. Now, this is when I get, when people say they can't do stuff or it's not for me, I'm going to have a heart attack, mate. He was at his lowest physically. He got in that ice bath, and look, there was no pressure. He stayed in there for like 7 minutes, mate. It was
Wow.
huge. And we just, when you're ready to get out, you get out, mate. You're a winner getting in there.
Yeah.
You know? And I just look out the beauty of that he was able to he felt intimidated. I remember him saying he felt intimidated by us, but like we've been doing this and he hadn't had his opportunity. And now he's running stuff over in Greymouth. And what a leader. That's what he's a true leader, mate. And I had the opportunity to go over there last year or 2 years ago now. That's flown, mate. Time. I went over to Greymouth for his book launch, and I had the opportunity to just be there while he launched his book, and just the grace that he has, the humility. Yeah, it's just, as I said, my life's so much richer for Joshy, you know, and it's in it like this flow thing again. Him coming to Melbourne and the opportunity to meet him, and he's helped. He enriched all our lives, all at the gym, all this. We're on the journey together, mate. And how fucking good is it? How good is it?
For anyone that hasn't listened to my episode 70 with Josh, go listen. And I can say that I can't remember how I found Josh. I think I found him from another podcast that he might have done, and I looked up his website and I reached out to him. But it's the first podcast that, and I've had amazing guests, amazing stories, and not one that hasn't touched me. But his was the first one where when people ask me, which episode should I start with? What's your favorite? I honestly don't have a favorite, because my guests have been so varied and so special in such different ways. But I found myself saying, I don't know, it's hard to pick one, but definitely listen to Josh. And I listened to my episode with Josh probably 5 times in that first week or two. His podcast touched me. There's something about him. He's amazing. So amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And so are we going to have the opportunity in life? If that door, all I can say is people are listening, the door opens, just put the foot in there, have a look, and then just go straight through it, mate. What is the worst can happen? What is the worst that can happen? This is what you look at then. If you're struggling, have a look at what's the worst thing that can happen. You know? And see, and what's really important is, and what I love to, and this breathing and all this, you know, and the ice bath and the community getting together, we're bringing the power to the people, mate. You know, it's the power. They have the power within. You don't have to be Superman, mate. This is what I'm trying to, you know, their main point. You don't have to be Superman, right? But we've all got the power within. So what the fuck? Let's light it, mate. And this is the whole thing. Light the fucking fire within, right? And then throw petrol on the fucking thing, mate, right? Because that's what it's about. It's really so important that, you know, if you want to give, you know, yeah, don't feel that you haven't got the power to do this. There's community support. There's people around to support you, you know. And I think that's what's happened, because with life and society, we're getting comfortable, and it is weakening us, mate, because we're too comfortable, see? You know, and so that's what you got to turn it up. You got to turn the fucking volume up, mate, and give it a crack. Give it a crack, Tiff. You know what it's about, mate.
I'll be giving it a crack. I'll be up there on your farm soon.
Beautiful, mate. Bloody ripper. Yeah. Bring it on.
And I love it because all of the principles, all of the experiences that you're offering, they're accessible to everybody, right? And if someone can come and experience them with you and gain an understanding, but then they can go home like cold showers. They're accessible to everyone. So you can have a taste of this and you can start to build that resilience. You can start to build that stuff.
Yeah, and I tell you what else, exactly, Tiff, and what I've just, it's taken me 2 years, Tiff. I've been building that as well as, everything else. But I've built a structure out of stone. I'm building a sweat lodge out of stone.
Oh, wow.
And so in 2018, I went to Sardinia, look at the blue zones, and they had these shepherd's huts. And basically the topography in Sardinia is very similar to what we have here, and elevated Hepburn Springs and Dalesford was a big mining town in the 1800s, but there was a lot of people that migrated from Italy, Swiss Italians, a big Swiss Italian community here, and they've built out a local stone, and it's very similar to what they have in Sardinia. So I saw these shepherd's huts deep in the blue zone there, and I thought I'm going to build one of those. So 20 ton of rock later, I've sourced all from the property. I worked out I've actually lifted it 60 ton because I put it into the truck and then thrown out of the truck, then lifted up and we've laid it. So it's a circular. I've nearly finished it, but I've got the roof on, but there's a sweat lodge that we're going to have there, wood-fired sweat lodge. So we've got that. I've got a big, deep plunge pipe I'm working on. So there's a wood-fired hot tub here that works as an ice bath, but in the colder months, we can have an ice bath in the morning. Then once everyone's out, I'll light the fire in it, and in a couple of hours, we'll be in there in the heat, mate. Beautiful, mate.
There is something really earthy about knowing that you have hand-built this over time. You haven't paid a company to come in and build a concept that's in your head. You've picked up every stone. You've put it to, it's built with love. It's built with energy.
Yeah.
To me, that's appealing. To me, that's really appealing.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Well, that's what, and I knew that I had to do that, and it's been like, and again, I started off, fuck, this is huge, mate. Like, I didn't realise, because we had a stonemason come and do all those years ago, and I like building with recycled materials. That's what I like to do the best, repurpose, reuse, and so. Yeah, that's been a big thing just to get that done, and finally I've got the roof on. And now I'm just working on the heater. So anyway, that'll be probably, I reckon, going in March. March, that'll be working. Hopefully I've insulated enough, mate. But I tell you, I'm looking forward. That's going to be an exciting launch in the sweat lodge, mate. It'd be great. So, but it all goes here. Like and look, I think that's one of the things, I had people come up and say, well, because I had this vision of it all had to be finished. And then I don't think that's not right, because then people can see that you're building. The thing is, it's always going to move, and it, like Josh said originally, you've got this vision, but it may not. You just got to give it a crack.
It's a reflection of the purpose, isn't it?
Yes.
You were to do that with the business, but then you're asking people to come in now and start now, not when they're finished, not when they're ready. Not like that's a part of the story. That's a part of the
that's great. That's great, Tiff. At that point, yeah. And so that's what the whole thing. So that's taken a bit of pressure off me, thinking I've got to get this, and all this done. Well, it's just not. It's just about starting and getting that, getting the connection, mate. Connection is community, connection, commitment, mate. The three C's, mate. And cold, the fourth C. Yeah, so there you go, mate.
I love it. Oh, Mark, you're ace. You're ace.
So are you, mate.
Please let me know when you're launching things, when you're launching the Sweatbox, when you're launching events. I will have all of the links to your socials and your website in the notes to this show, so people can go and follow on and make sure they're aware of it. But I'd love to put out on my socials when you've got things happening, and I'd just love to know myself, because I'd like to be open to being first in there.
Yeah, good tip. Well, as I said, I've got some events. I've got an event happening on the 27th of Feb. That's kind of like a running group. Hopefully I'm doing a breathing session down at, they're called the 440 Running Club. I don't know if you heard of them. They meet 5:30 on Saturday mornings, and everyone's welcome. This is like a free event.
Okay.
5:30 every Saturday morning. I'm going to be there this Saturday with the group. And they meet at the Anderson Street Hill at the bottom.
Oh, yep.
Anderson
At the
Street
tan.
Hill,
Yep.
at the tan, and they run the hill. So it's 220 metres up, whatever it is. They run up and they run back down, and they do it 10 times.
I haven't done that for years. I've stress fractured my foot before Christmas. I'm going to call Ian O'Dwyer after this recording. I'm going to ask him when I'm allowed to start sprinting up a hill again. And I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind getting involved.
But you can walk up there, Tiff. I'll probably, because I haven't been, I've got to get, I've been training, but running I haven't done for a while. So I might run 5 or something, or see how I go. But then I'm going to take a breathing session, just a small breathing session, just a taster after that. So if you happen to be, and you can't do it, Tiff, and I'm going to be, I think it's going to be opposite the botanical, that little bit of grassed area there.
Yep.
So they have upwards, and Cameron Mack, he's one of the he runs it. I think he's 180 project 180, 180 projects. He's they organise it, and we're going to. It's called. I think it's called the 440 Club, and we're going to breathe. We're going to breathe all together on Saturday morning. It's going to be great, mate. So I'm looking forward to going down to Melbourne, because this is what I love them. If you say to me, Mark, what's your true passion? My true passion is connecting, mate. I love it.
Yeah.
Hugging as many people as you can, mate.
I tell you what, I epigenetically profiled you like a boss. I'll tell you that right now. Listening to the whole thing, I'm like, yeah, I nailed it. I nailed it in the first 5 minutes.
There you go, mate.
I love it. All right. Well, I'll be in touch with you very soon. I probably wouldn't mind at some point maybe partnering up and doing some using your retreat space and coming up with maybe something we could do together. I'd love to get people involved.
Yeah, no, of course, Tiff. Whatever, Tiff. I think what we have to do is we need to say yes, mate. Yeah, that thing's come up again. We just go. Go together.
Hashtag say yes became a mantra of mine, something that I've pumped out over the last few years. Hashtag say yes. Just say yes. Stop saying no. Just say yes.
Hashtag say yes.
Boom.
Yes, mate. I like that. That's good. Good, Tiff. Well, listen, Tiff, I'm so grateful to be able to have to spend this time with you, mate. And I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Strong woman, mate. Hey?
Thank you.
Yes. Leader. That's what we have to do, mate. Put ourselves out there, mate.
Absolutely.
Others will follow.
We'll be in touch soon. I'll probably get you on this podcast again soon too, because I think you're a weapon.
Thank you. Look forward to it, mate.